Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of Disability Perspective. I'm your host, Charlie Brose. With me today is my good friend here, Mike Tyndall.
Hello, Charlie.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I can't complain too much, but nobody listens anyway.
Well, I try to listen, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. So let's introduce our guest today.
Absolutely.
She hosts a podcast called More Than Able. Her name is Margie Ainsworth. And welcome, Margie.
Glad to have you, Margie.
Thank you, Charlie and Mike. It's great to be here.
First of all, tell us about your disability.
Absolutely. So I have a disability called hydrocephalus, which means water on the brain.
Sure.
And I have what's called a VP shunt that is tubing that runs from my head all the way down to my abdomen. And I've had it since I was a baby. I was diagnosed at 8 months, and I had my first shunt placed when I was 12 months.
Wow.
And I was never supposed to walk, and I was never supposed to talk.
Wow.
And my lovely mother, who is here with me, she said, nope, that's not going to happen. My daughter's going to walk, and she's going to talk. And here I am 32 years later doing a podcast.
Yeah, tell us about that podcast.
Absolutely. So it's called More Than Able. And I started it about almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
And the decision to do a podcast came about, I had started working with a group called Learnability LLC.
Okay.
And one of the things that they do with their clients is podcasts.
Okay.
And so when I heard that, I was like, oh, great. I want to do a celebrity gossip podcast because I love celebrity gossip.
Sure, who doesn't? Yeah.
And everything. And then I woke up one morning and I was just like, you know what? I don't think celebrity gossip is what I want to do. And so I asked my mom what she thought, and she was like, why don't you do a show on disabilities?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And because myself having a disability, there's not a lot, well, you guys know this, there's not a lot of podcasts out there that show people with disabilities and the people that work with them or our parents or teachers. And so More Than Able was born.
Wow, I love the name More Than Able.
And
Thank you.
It kind of leans the same way our program does, in that we want to bring people with disabilities in and talk about their talents, what they can do, what they've done to overcome their disabilities, that type of thing.
Right.
And also organizations that work with people with disabilities to say, we should have fun.
Yes.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so I love the idea of the podcast.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, it is very rare to have programs about disability. What types of guests have you featured then?
Good question. So I've had over 20 guests.
Okay.
And I've pretty much pulled from my experiences.
Sure.
So I've had some of my teachers on. I've had my parents on. I've had friends, my wonderful boyfriend, shout out to Parker. And yeah, and I'm hoping to reach a lot more people. Like right now we're kind of talking about working with or interviewing businesses that employ people with disabilities.
Okay.
Sure.
And I've also done solo episodes as well where I've talked about how television has really opened up the world of disabilities to people, and just other things like that.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about in your life, you were talking about having your teachers and your parents.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your growing up with your disability and kind of give us a little perspective for those of us who have not seen your podcasts or heard your
Absolutely.
podcasts.
Absolutely. So growing up, having hydrocephalus, it could be challenging because I was in and out of the hospital
Okay.
for most of my school years.
Sure.
And so that made it hard to make friends. And then
Sure.
like when you're in elementary school, it's like the kids in school are always like, why is Margie not in school today? And it was because I was in and out of the hospital because I was sick or I was having tests done to figure out what was going on. And so it made friendships challenging.
Sure.
But I'm happy to say now that I have a great core group of friends
That's
who
great.
don't really see
Sure.
me as having a disability.
Right.
And most of the time they're like, Margie, I would have never guessed that you had a disability. And so that's always comforting to hear and see and have people understand.
Sure.
Well, yeah, it's when you have friends that can see beyond the disability. And, you know, I've experienced that in a kind of an odd way where people say, well, why don't you come up here with me? And it's like, there's 8 stairs there. I'm not going to make it.
Right, yeah.
And then they'll look at me going, I forgot you were disabled. It's like, okay, I appreciate that, but I think the wheelchair kind of gives me away.
Exactly, yeah.
Sure. I've had a number of people say to me before, I forgot you're blind. In fact, one time I was a kid and we were doing some music and I was going to play piano for this gospel singing group to rehearse. And it was pouring down rain. Everybody jumped out of the cars and just ran inside. And I had never been to this person's house. So I had my cane and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I got out of the car and I started walking like where I thought I was supposed to be going. Well, I was going totally the wrong way. And then after about 10 minutes, they were like, oh my gosh, we forgot you were out there because we just totally forgot you're blind.
Oh no!
That is not a good way to go.
No, especially when you're a kid.
Yes,
Oh,
and I had no idea
ouch.
where to go. I was so lost.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
It's unfortunate but funny at the same
It
time.
was very funny.
Yeah, it's easier now when you're an adult that you can laugh about
Oh,
like
sure.
the
Oh, yeah.
dumb stuff that we
Sure.
did as kids.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Now, in terms of the podcast,
Yeah.
where do you see it going as you go on?
Great question. I'm like I said, I'm hoping to talk with other companies that employ people with disabilities and more individuals that either have disabilities or things like that. And I've even like been joking around with my family because I'm really into music and I've met a lot of singers in my life. They're like, Margie, you could get them on the podcast. And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah, and then maybe even promote it on the game show Wheel of Fortune because I love that game show and I've wanted to go on that. But I mean, I just hope that wherever this podcast goes, that I can continue to spread awareness
Yeah.
Sure.
and to be able to be that voice for people who maybe are like, oh, I don't know if I can do this
Sure.
or if I can share this
Right.
about myself. And
It is a matter of opening yourself up more in providing information that you may not always think to tell people.
right.
And it does make you more vulnerable. but it also is more cleansing in a way
Absolutely, yeah.
because you're going, God, I'm glad I got that off my chest.
Yes.
And I think it's great that you are, willing to share your disability and talk about it. And we often, one of the things that, as we've mentioned a while ago about our show is that we, enjoy talking about not only someone's disability, but how they've been able to overcome it and,
Absolutely.
live their life as able-bodied people live their lives. I mean, we all, on a daily basis, we all do that. We may do it in different ways, but we live our lives as normal as we can, right, Charlie?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Margie, in dealing with the hydrocephalus, yours is what many consider a hidden disability.
Correct, yes.
And so, in making people understand that disability, or how it affects you in a day-to-day life, because I understand just recently you had to undergo more medical procedures to get things kind of balanced out again. So, I mean, it makes life more challenging
Absolutely.
in balancing. Hey, I'm supposed to go to a concert tomorrow night. Oh, geez, I just found out I have to spend the evening in the ER.
Right, yeah. Like going to concerts.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, am I going to be with somebody who knows my situation? And like, because with my last surgeries, it was a rough recovery. And I experienced a lot of lightheadedness and fainting. And so I pretty much had to have someone with me 24/7. Like, if I, like,
Right.
Sure.
if I wanted to go out, it was like, okay, am I going to be safe?
Right.
Right. Sure.
How's the lighting? How's the temperature?
Right.
Am I going to be okay?
Right.
And thankfully, knock on wood, I am I'm past that.
Good.
I'm just now starting to feel better in that capacity.
Sure. That's
So-
great. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. In doing your podcast, how many people are involved in helping you put that together?
Well, I have right now 2 producers. They're a husband and wife team,
Cool.
Kyle and Jasmine, and they have been fantastic throughout this whole thing.
Okay.
And I've had some other people kind of come in and out, as you both know. There are seasons where people move on
Sure.
Yeah.
because they get another opportunity.
Right.
And so right now it's just my producers and I, and then we have like my mom, who's my manager. She helps out a little bit, and then I have some other outside people who help with figuring out interview questions and
Okay. So some of the logistics.
yeah, exactly.
That's great.
And then it's just me on the mic with the guest.
Well, it's great that you have that logistical team because, it's a lot easier when you can, think about the stuff that you're going to do and have help putting that on as opposed to it all leaning on you to do it. So that's wonderful.
And then I should also mention the merchandise. I have a team with that too. I think we have a picture. My dad owns a promotional products company called Peacock Promotions.
Okay.
And when the idea of merchandise came up, I immediately thought of my dad because, I mean, when you know people.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
You take the best advantage
yep,
you can.
yep.
I love the
So
name Peacock
I picked up the
Promotions. I
phone.
love it.
Yeah, I picked up the phone and I was like, Dad, I have a proposition for you. And he and his coworker Tina just jumped right in, and we have t-shirts, we have tote bags, and we have those tumbler water bottles.
Nice.
very
And
nice.
we started off selling them to friends, but we're kind of working on some other stuff right
Okay.
now. We don't have like an exact plan in motion right now, but my dad was like, I think we can take this to the next level. So stay tuned.
Stay
Well,
tuned. All right.
glad to hear it.
I like stay tuned.
Yes.
There's more to come.
Yes, for more than able.
Yes, for more than able. Yes, I love it.
Now,
That's
for
great.
those of our viewers, and I hope it's every one of you that want to check out Margie's podcast, where can they find it?
Absolutely. So we are on YouTube right
Okay,
now.
cool.
It's More Than Able Podcast. You'll see this logo. And we also have social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all those. And we're working on Spotify. I've been nudging my producers a little bit because everybody's like, when is it going to be on Spotify? And because that's where a lot of people
Sure.
listen to their
Yeah.
podcasts these
Sure.
days. So stay tuned for that. But yeah,
So
YouTube.
more than able. Yeah.
Yes.
I just love that name.
Thank you. Do I have time to tell the quick backstory on it?
Absolutely.
So after I had figured out the concept of the podcast, it was like, okay, it's time to think of a name. And I have a really great friend. I grew up with him, and he was like, do you have a name for your podcast yet? And I was like, no, do you have any suggestions? Because he's like really creative and really smart. And he's and
It's good to have people like
Yeah.
that.
People like that around you. Yeah.
and he said, what about More Than Able? And so I threw the name out to my team, and they were all like, love it, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's cool. No, because it explains that you're more than your disability.
Absolutely, yeah. And I end my podcast, spoiler alert, every episode with saying, and just remember, you are more than able. So I feel like that really cements what
Absolutely.
more than able
Yeah.
is. And I even put it in my hashtags now too when I'm posting stuff
That's
on
great.
Good deal.
social media. I always hashtag it,
More
you
than
are
able.
more than able or more than able.
Okay.
So
Well, I think about people who, who have disabilities later in life. Like I have a friend who was up on a ladder and he fell off. The ladder slipped and he fell like 30 feet.
oh my
And he's
goodness.
now a quadriplegic.
Oh
And,
my goodness.
it's just always good to, bring back when we think about that, maybe we can't do whatever because, right? And we're having
Right.
a bad day.
Right.
We're all more than able.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, even you guys sitting here doing this TV show.
Yeah.
So-
We just kind of found the building and,
We love it.
they offered candy, so I came.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
The impetus for this show was basically going, there aren't a lot of programs, and your podcast that talk to people about disability
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
in terms of what you're able to do. There are a couple other shows out there that are more politically related
Right.
or lifestyle related in terms of, what people can do with disability. Whereas, we like to talk to the people that have the disability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That how they're getting through life.
Yep, how they're
We-
living their life and how they're telling their story.
Exactly.
And
We-
giving them a place and a space to tell their story.
Absolutely, and that's so great.
I mean, we've met a handful of musicians. Mike is one of them. That come in and they perform, and you're blown away by what they're able to do and the music they produce. And so it's really fun to bring that to other people.
Absolutely.
And I hope you're able to continue to do this with your podcast and grow it in ways that highlight the companies that help people with disabilities, or go in a direction that really inspires you to talk about disability, because you don't just deal with hydrocephalus when you do your show, right?
Right. So we dedicate part of September to Hydrocephalus Awareness Month.
Sure.
Because that's when Hydrocephalus Awareness Month is.
Okay.
And what we've done in the past with that is I have shared my story, the first episode. Then the next episode, one year we did where I interviewed my mom, my stepdad, and my dad all at the same time to share their perspectives from a parent's perspective. And then I actually found a young woman, her name's Sierra, and she works for the Hydrocephalus Association.
Oh, very cool.
And we were talking about spina bifida earlier. She has hydrocephalus and spina bifida.
Okay.
But she reminded me so much of myself. Like, she can go to concerts. She loves to go to concerts. And she, of course, is very passionate about hydrocephalus.
Sure.
Working for them and just having it.
Right. And a lot of that is the educating of how to deal with the disability in itself.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But I mean, I also have talked to people with autism, and I've talked about cerebral palsy, and I've shared stories about Down syndrome, and because there's so many disabilities out there, it's like you don't want to focus on just one, because then it's like you lose your audience, because it's like, well, I don't have hydrocephalus. Why should I listen to this?
Right.
Well, one of the things I was going to say that you just mentioned is that you're opening it up to a wide spectrum of people with all types of disabilities, and I think that's great.
Thank you.
And you mentioned Hydrocephalus Month, and that's great because it highlights the month. I don't have a short guy with no legs month.
Well, maybe we ought to create one.
I think we ought to, because I think we can
Maybe
find a
on
few
your
more of me.
birthday. When's your birthday?
March, so we can do
we
that.
don't need more of you, Charlie. One Charlie Bros is enough.
I was going to say, maybe we could create a short guy with no legs month in March.
There we go.
there
There
you
we
go.
go.
We'll manifest it.
We'll just put it on my birthday and call it one day like that.
Okay,
So.
perfect.
Oh, now you want your own day. I see where this is going.
Why not?
Yeah,
you
why
know?
not, Charlie? Why not? Why not?
Hey,
That's funny.
come on, Lincoln's got a day, Washington's got a day.
Yeah.
Come on, where's the short guy day?
All right.
Yeah, or a short girl day, because
There you
I'm
go.
short.
Yeah. And I've seen a picture with you and your boyfriend, and I'm
Yes.
like, okay, that doesn't work out.
You
Look
know
it up,
what?
yeah.
Everybody says that. They're like, how does that
I-
match up? And it's like, you know what? We make it work, and we have fun.
I have a niece who just married her best friend, and it is a very big situation where he is to about 1.5 feet taller than she.
Oh
And
my
you
goodness.
just look at it and it's like, is that a wedding picture or is that a father-daughter dance?
That's great.
But but I wish them all the luck in the world.
Oh,
because-
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
And so I think it's very cool that it's not like you had to go and hunt around for somebody your own height to go.
No.
Right.
Been there, done that.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, no, but Parker's great. He's one of the smartest guys I think I've ever met in my entire life. And he looks past everything that I've gone through and like health-wise, and
Sure.
and his family has just been absolutely amazing. I love his parents. I love his brother. And my parents love Parker, and they get along with his parents, and
That's awesome.
so that's been a huge blessing too.
Sure.
And like when I first got the merch going, Parker's mom was like, "I'll buy something," and so I got her. I don't know if you saw Charlie at Joe's Lemonade Stand, but she had one of our tumblers. And I had my T-shirt on. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they've been a great support, too.
That's great.
And
So-
it is very encouraging that you found someone who understands and, I would say, empathizes, or at least takes care of you with the disability, or understands
Absolutely.
and knows that something can happen.
And looks beyond it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure he's there to support you when you have to be at the hospital.
Oh,
or-
yeah. Yeah, he's been great throughout the whole thing. It's so cute. It's like, he'll be like, "Well, have you tried this for your headache? Have you tried that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've tried that."
Yeah,
Even though it's a little
let's
more
try-
complex.
Sure.
Well, let's try acupuncture, but I just put the needles in you. So it's time to wrap it up.
Yes.
Now, do you have any parting words for our audience?
I would just like to say, whatever disability you have, or if you know somebody with a disability, first off, if you have a disability, don't let it slow you down. I have friends who have gone through struggles and they don't let it slow them down. And for families, just continue to listen to your kids and support your kids, because I've been lucky that my family has been so supportive of me, and they've really shaped me into the woman that I am, and they're still shaping me.
Good.
Yeah, so.
It's very important, is to use everything you have and become, the person that you want to become.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
So, time to wrap it up here. I want to thank Margie for joining us today. I want to thank Mike for coming in, and before he goes get some jet lag. And you're watching Disability Perspective. I'm Charlie Brose, Mike Tyndall. We'll see y'all next time.